The market shows us that XRP is trying to break to the upside and is almost at that verge of a breakout. But then Bitcoin comes in and says, no, I'm not letting you do that. I'm going to get rejected at this level. It at least felt like, okay, we are passing through, we are breaking through this level and we are moving up to 27,500. That's going to be the next level of resistance. However, Bitcoin just formed a hanging man candle just right over here and is starting to get rejected. Now, what does that actually mean for us as XRP holders, right? We're actually looking through XRP in a lot of different ways to clearly understand where these resistance support levels are, what can we look forward to, right? While you zoom in on a short-term chart, yeah, it is visible that last time we formed a pattern like this, we broke to the upside. Now we are forming a reaccumulation pattern and trying to break to the upside. But we understand the fact, yeah, on the macro charts is where we get the actual story. And this story on a 3-day chart does look attractive. This is like a 2 to 3 candle continuation pattern. Like here you got a 3 candle continuation, a drop, and then a little bit of retracement, then follow through. Right now you got a pump to the upside, a little bit of corrective movement, and follow through is just starting. It's starting to happen in the market. It is net positive. While you look at the weekly, you kind of get the macro picture easily. And what's more interesting is the fundamentals in the market is so positive right now. Even the Bloomberg guys are saying, okay, these expectations may start pushing the price of assets like Bitcoin. But let me actually put this clearly. There are something inside this to break down and understand, because the way the market is now moving is towards the marketing side of this, towards the media side of this, towards the adoption. And that's where the real fundamentals comes into picture. That's where if you have a project with real utility, solving real world problem, that matters. Yes, this is the actual stuff which was slowing XRP as an asset down, but things does look positive now. We are turning to that end where XRP may come out positive out of the court case. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this crypto. Look at the volume here. We are still almost there. We haven't actually got a surge in volume. Before the market closed yesterday, we were having double this volume. Right now, we don't have too much of that volume. Look at the buy and sell happening here. Sellers still exist in the market, which actually shows you there are people who just believe that the market is going to go lower, or they want to push the market to the downside for sure. Now, yes, there are small tokens trying to push the market a little bit higher, but we understand the fact that it actually depends on Bitcoin. So if you actually understand what Bitcoin is doing on the macro, the micro, then you understand, okay, there are possibilities for this, but you do have a lot of other assets trying to break through right now with a measured move to the measured target. So that's happening right now in the market. So if you are looking forward to that, you can look at the link. It's given in the description below. Now, let's jump onto the charts. Here, XRP actually shows you like I'm at the verge of that breakout. Now, this is a short-term zoomed-in chart, right? So on a daily, on a weekly, you may actually see a wick to the downside back if we are getting rejected. Now, why am I saying getting rejected? Because this is what's happening with Bitcoin, right? It is showing you, I don't think I'm going to go up here. I'm slowing down and that all. But the hope of break to the upside still remains if we can bounce off at least by this level, which is 26,472. So to put that into perspective, by 26,500, if we are finding support and bouncing off, we may still go back up almost towards 27,400. That's going to be the next level of resistance, which was the previous level of support. So the market is actually positive on that side of it. But what are we really looking at, right? This is another breakdown of a 12-hour chart where we are looking at this pattern, yeah, we do understand there is a possibility of the market slowly making this as a resistance, retesting that, and maybe getting rejected. Fine. But within that territory of idea, we actually have the market performing something like this. So even if we get rejected and we come back to this level and form a higher low, that means now that's bullish. Why? There's a 12-hour chart, not an hourly chart, but not a daily chart. Great. You actually zoom in and you're literally observing the fact that, okay, we kind of got a reversal signal here, which kind of showed you, okay, that can be the potential bottom of this shoulder, which means next time when you come back down, you're looking for something around 0.45 for XRP. Now, literally, we are right now just below 0.47, so it's not a big deal to drop to the downside to that particular level. Now, on this hourly chart, what's more important is to keep an eye on the divergence, right? You actually have the price coming back to test the same range. However, you're watching that the price and the RSI is showing you some difference, right? The RSI is actually slowing down at the time when the price is going back up to the same exact level. So it's showing you, okay, the buying strength is actually reducing a bit, and we just saw the volume is down. Sellers are kind of trying to push or at least bully the buyers here, right? So given that perspective there, I would actually come back on a daily chart, then move on to a 3-day chart to give you the actual direction, because on a daily chart, what you're watching right now is some level of resistance is being pushed there. Great. But when you actually move on to a 3-day chart, what you're observing there is entirely different, right? You are literally watching a formation, which for me or my eyes actually seems like something like it's actually bottoming here. 1, 2, and then the third one here. So more or less, it does look like, okay, you may actually have some movement and that can still be choppy, right? You can come back to that level of support. You can then bounce off from there. All that's still possible while maintaining that rounded bottom possibility on the RSI. Now, yes, that's like, okay, I'm looking for next couple of weeks. But if you actually zoom in right now into that RSI, what you can understand is that the price is also forming a possible pattern in terms of the RSI here as a inverse head and shoulder, which if we actually literally make it, then it's actually positive, meaning we are actually going to break to the upside. That is not a bad deal looking at the price action, because we had the resistance, right? So if that plays out on a 3-day chart, so that's like next 10 days, that means we can actually come back up to test this range of resistance. Now, it will completely rely on what level of strength we get with that breakout. If we manage to gather enough resistance and break through those resistance, it's good. You're getting more liquidity and you're pushing the price to the upside. Now, one of the easiest things you can do here is like, okay, we understand the fact that Bitcoin is dropping. XRP is right now holding. So to get that picture a little bit more clearer, we can go on to XRP BTC chart and look at what is happening there. And at least on my perspective, I'm like, okay, at least the price is trying to reach the previous high, or at least it's actually trying to put in a new high on the terms of candle close on a 4-hour chart. But the RSI is showing, you know, I'm slowing down here actually. I'm not actually having that amount of strength to say. So you actually go on to a daily chart to understand whether we are in agreement with the short-term chart. And it's like, okay, to a level, a certain extent, you can say, okay, that's true. However, you're still above the moving average. So RSI staying that at that level is actually positive, because if you actually go on the weekly chart, one of the things which you note here is that you broke this to the upside, you came back, you retested that level, and you're bouncing right now. So historically speaking, that is actually a bullish move. Now, I can go all the way up towards a monthly chart and put the same thought process. You will get the same idea. When you actually break this to the upside, that's positive, because the first time you get rejected, second time you break to the upside. So here, now you're trying to put in a double bottom and break to the upside. One of the easiest things to keep in mind while you check through the charts is like, okay, what's the general altcoin market doing? And mostly we use Ether to understand what the general market does as altcoins, because there's a lot of ERC20 tokens, and yes, there's some issue happening there, right? If you actually look at the layer 1s and layer 2s and the funding for them, we have some concerns. And this guy is actually trying to give his perspective. And if we are already using some of these Ether based projects, now you already know how painful it is, right? While you actually go through, pay the fees and all, it kind of doesn't actually look good. Fine. Now we jump on back here. We want to actually look at the USD for sure, but at the same time, we also want to look at Ether to Bitcoin. That is where it actually gets a little bit more interesting, because this is a 3-day chart where we look at Ether towards Bitcoin. And we understand the fact that there is something moving here, right? Ether is actually breaking through a resistance trend line, which it has almost held for a year. And that's against Bitcoin, right? So the thought process here is like, okay, that does mean all coins are gonna move better than Bitcoin. But yeah, that's in terms of RSI. And then you zoom in, you see like, okay, the price is actually slowing a little bit down. And if you plot a trend line for the price action, you can see, okay, we haven't actually got that breakout in terms of the price yet. But the RSI does suggest you that, okay, we are more or less likely to get that soon. Why? Say you look at the opposite scenario here. You actually saw that the price action was showing you I'm breaking to the downside. Yeah, that did happen. As soon as that broke to the downside, you saw the pattern breaking to the downside. So at some point, you can agree on the fact that, okay, you actually see that altcoins are going to outrun Bitcoin for sure. And the way we have been watching through the level of strength building here, it does show you like, okay, some kind of change is happening. Something is moving, right? And if you actually look at the level of consolidation, reaccumulation phase, which is happening here, it didn't actually drop much. Or you can actually say, in terms of Ether, if this is playing out, not for the entire altcoin space, but for Ether, there's another perspective which you can lay out. Say if you go on a monthly chart in this particular scenario and put on a line chart, it actually shows you there is a possibility that this can be a double top. This can be a double top. That is not bullish. That literally is not bullish for Ether. Now, if you actually put that back to a candlestick and plot the support resistance as a confirmation, it will actually look something like this. So if you actually break below this range, it's going to be danger zone for Ether as an asset in this ecosystem right now. While the price is maintaining a certain level, strength is not suggesting you the same story. Strength is reducing. So unless we get a pump here, break through this level of resistance, it is going to be bad. But the difference here is while you actually look at, say, XRP to Bitcoin, as we just looked at, we actually see the exact opposite happening, right? It's on the monthly chart, and we are seeing that the RSI is building. It's actually going to the upside. The strength is slowly increasing. So there is a possibility of a price explosion happening here. Say in terms of XRP to a Bitcoin, we may actually soon see this level of resistance being shot down for sure. That's a big possibility. Say if you actually put in a line here to understand what those mean, that's the first level. Great. After which you still actually have the next level for sure, but the thought process here would be like, okay, this is going to be the next level. Great. Now, if you actually measure that move in terms of a pattern, which we can actually plot here, which looks kind of like, okay, that's a symmetrical pattern. And if we actually break that, the upside move is going to be around 5x. That is not a small movement. Because if you remember the move which we actually got in XRP while we went to $2 in 2021, that was literally a 160% run up in terms of Bitcoin. So if we're actually watching around 500% run up, that actually pushes all the way up here. Say if we are looking in terms of history, that takes us somewhere close to this point. And I'm like, patience is going to be really hard. 100%, I agreed. I agree with that fact that it is really hard to be patient. But let me actually ask you this as a question. Now, you can put your comments in the comment section below, but if you actually see a double bottom here and the price hitting at a support, and you can anticipate there is a big possibility that you cannot deny that we are going to go to the upside and we are going to break through this level, that's a monthly chart representing you the same story. I'm at a support, I'm trying to bounce off. Believe me, I'm going to do this. Why? Let me put that perspective. For me, while I look at this, I see an engulfing candle here, right? After which, that range which the engulfing candle formed has not been taken out. So that particular movement in the market, which engulfed the last couple of bearish action, is still valid. So the direction is to the upside, right? Unless you actually get another bearish candle engulfing the entire movement of that zone, I would say like, okay, there is something evolving in this market, which we would easily say like, okay, we cannot actually neglect that. Now, yes, we can break this down, go on further towards a weekly chart and see what's happening, right? Literally, can we understand something from that? And okay, remove everything here and ask yourself, what do you see? Just two candles push the price up like this. Great. After that, you literally needed further like this, so that if we actually take account of the number of candles which actually played out, it literally took 35 days, which is 5 candles to the downside to push you down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's actually 6 candles to the downside, right? 6 weeks to the downside to just erase 1 candle, not the second one here. It didn't even touch that range, right? In terms of the candle close, it actually closed above there. So if you actually put that perspective, now it's actually easy to think like, okay, this term, it's now acting as a support. This was a great wick. So the buyers were really interested in buying this asset and pushing this back up. Now you're retesting that range and you're trying to bounce off. Put it into another perspective. This 1 weekly candle raised last 4 weeks of fluctuation. So if you get another candle like that, now we are literally moving through months, if not years of fluctuation being erased, and the perspective which we laid out on the monthly coming to play out here. So great. Now take that same perspective and ask yourself like, okay, if that's what you're observing in XRP BTC, don't you actually think like we are going to move up here in terms of XRP USD? If you do think that's a possibility in the market, keep your eyes open, stay awake. And if you're looking for all these updates on other assets along with the XRP, Bitcoin, the general market, the macro and all, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that yet. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.